This episode's guest is RJ Grimshaw. RJ is CEO, president, and business coach. RJ is a bona fide expert in business leadership. Coached at a young age by his father, who owns several different companies, RJ learned the ins and outs of business growth and management when he built a multi-million dollar business at age 22. After spending 20 years in corporate America, RJ worked his way to the top in 2013 and became the president and CEO of UniFi Equipment Finance. Under RJ's leadership and executive direction, UniFi witnessed a growth from 13 million to 100 million in 5 years. Alongside his successful career at UniFi, RJ is also a business coach, a job that allows him to mobilize the principles he used to grow and scale businesses to help out other companies by thinking less like a cog in the corporate machine and more like an active entrepreneur. And we'll discuss entrepreneurship. RJ helps companies revitalize their atmosphere and approach to business management to achieve maximum growth. So RJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. How are you this morning?
Doing good. Like we were chatting beforehand, in the middle of this pandemic, it's sort of crazy.
It's the good news. It's an absolutely beautiful spring day here in Ann Arbor. Beautiful, big clouds and the sun's shining. It's supposed to be 65, 70 degrees. So God has blessed us with a beautiful day. And I have to say, every time, that bio's read, it makes me sound a heck of a lot better than I feel I am. I wouldn't say I'm an expert or anything. I'm just a guy that loves to learn and help people. And, I love business and I love helping business owners or any facet of business. And when you have that kind of passion, and I saw it in my dad and my brothers, it just comes naturally. It's you get up with that excitement every single day.
Well, and that's the key, right? And I think, tell us a little bit about that, how that passion came about. It's obviously, you grew up with it, but you've sort of taken that to the next level.
Well, it's like anyone that you watch great athletes, Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure you're watching the Michael Jordan documentary that's on Sunday evenings or on. It's interesting that my two boys now in the pandemic are home, and I get to spend a lot of time with them every Sunday evening now at 9:00, which is past my bedtime. They want to stay up and watch the Jordan 2-hour episode. And I'm like, guys, can't we just watch it the next evening on demand on Monday night at 6:00 after dinner, 7:00?
I'm the same way.
But it's interesting where, when we grew up, we watched it and it came on at 8:00 or whatever time and you had to watch it. Now it's on demand and we've become used to that. But it's the same thing when, and I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but anyone that plays at an elite level from an athletic perspective, there's one thing that's common, and that's being obsessed. And you have to love what you're doing and then bring that obsession to that aspect of your life, if it's athletics, if it's business. But typically what I find with anyone, and you're the same way, if you're obsessed in your professional life, you're obsessed in your profession or in your personal life, and there's no more work-life balance. It's life integration. It's all in one. Anyone that says to me work-life balance, I don't judge them for that, but I don't believe in that. It's all one now, and it will continue to become one now. Especially, I firmly believe if you're working from home or doing calls like this, it truly is integrated. And your spouses and wives and partners are going to know, and your kids are going to know more about what you do. And you're going to have to, intertwine that into your professional life.
And I love what you just said, the integration of it, right? I think in what we do in service-based industries and even non-service-based industries, it's very rare that you're not thinking about, your job, your role. How can you become better? Some people don't, but I know, guys like you and I and a lot of leaders that are listening to this are always trying to figure out how can they do better? How can they become better? How can they always be learning? One of the things, I'm doing right now, instead of watching Netflix, is masterclass, right? You can go on there and you learn these super cool little snippets that you didn't even know about, but you take 1% or 0.5% of that and apply it to your day job. It's sort of, it's incremental. It's awesome.
And that being a life learner, if there's one thing that I could say that I learned from my dad and that I can say has driven my success and fortune and blessings has primarily been I've been a life learner.
Right.
When I was a teenager, I listened to AM radio. My buddies would get in the car and they're like, dude, what you listen to AM radio, get some music. Well, I was feeding my brain with information, or I listened to tapes, or I listened to audiobooks. And my dad was the same way. I mean, I'm dating myself there with tapes, right? But I was always like that. I didn't have podcasts, and I was always reading. And I was just trying to get better. And it wasn't trying to be wide based. It was business. It was about life improvement. It was about athletics. If I was coaching baseball or coaching one of my kids in a certain sport, I wanted to become the best darn baseball coach because I saw my dad do that for 20 years, coach Little League. I wanted to be the best at that. So that goes back to life learning. And you have to be, the other thing is discipline with that. If you're going to have that attitude, you're going to be disciplined to take time and schedule time. But again, when it's your passion and you're obsessed with it, the discipline comes naturally. You're going to read, you're not going to sit and watch Netflix. Now there is time for that. You have to shut it off. One thing I have learned, and my wife has been very good about this, is, shutting it off. And I really struggled with that when I first moved here to Ann Arbor and we were growing the company. My golf game went from here to here. It was god awful. And it's vice versa, right? My handicap was here and it went up. And I couldn't golf to save my life because my wheels were just spinning nonstop and I could not enjoy myself on the golf course. I could not enjoy myself because I had a task to do. And that was to re-energize and build this business back to what it had the capacity of doing.
But sometimes you have to do that to get to where you want to be, right? You got to put in the grind. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think that all of a sudden you're the CEO of UniFi and now, oh, I can play more golf, and it's not that way at all. It's put the hammer down. And if you want to perform, that's what you need to do. And I'm a big follower of Gary Vaynerchuk. And one of the things he's always saying, hey, you got to eat dirt for 15 years, 20 years. There's no such thing as an overnight success. And you're always sort of putting that grind in. And like you said, my wife does the same thing. Shut your brain off, watch a little TV or something to stop thinking all the time. And that's a good thing. And you do it through sport. I do it through sport sort of the same way. It's here, go out there and release. And that's where a lot of your best thoughts come from when you're actually not doing it too.
Yeah, they do. Or a cigar on my patio, that's always, stress relief. Or, we got our first dog 4 years ago, enjoying Titan out in the backyard playing fetch. But those are the little things. But you're spot on that. And I tell my boys this, and I tell people all the time that, and this is everyone says this, you Gary V, whoever you follow mentorship wise, where you're at today is not because of today. It's because of the decisions you've made over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years is where you sit today. It just didn't happen overnight. So, and that's success and or failure. And it's up to you to make those changes. And that grind for myself started, 25 years ago, and that work ethic and again, I was just a product of my surroundings and from seeing my dad do that. My dad owned several businesses. My mom was supportive of him owning these businesses, very successful. He could have shut down at any time if he wanted to, but that wasn't the way that he was wired. He coached baseball. He ran our Little League Association. He ran a mobile home park. He ran a construction company. He ran a construction management company. He started myself and my brother at 21 or at 22 and 21 in our first bar business and restaurant business. He funded that, and he wanted to dabble in the bar business. So he was always on apartment complexes and real estate. So he wasn't out, he wasn't the guy on the weekend that was hunting or, out drinking with his buddies or, cars. It was business and family. And when you see that, you become the same way. Right. And there's two things that drive me: my family and business and being successful. Both my boys played a high level competitive hockey for all the years. One's still playing, so there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into that. But again, it's all integration. You can't turn on and turn off who you are. There's no, hey, I'm going to go to work hard, or go when I go to work and work hard, and then at home I'm not. It's all one. But that life learner obsession helps you become that entrepreneur that I'm so passionate about, because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, seeing my dad, and then I had my own business, and then I ended up in corporate America just by accident, coincidence. But I had that same mindset that I always had running my own business, now within corporate America, within the box. And quite honestly, that is what's gotten me to where I am right now, is having that mindset of being resourceful. And now we look for those type of people to work within UniFi.
No, and so talk to us a little bit about that, the entrepreneurship versus entrepreneurship, right? I think lots of people are sort of going down that road. And if you look at like even a Google, they actually really promote it, right? So it's 80% of the time Google, 20% of the time is, hey, come up with some other ideas that you can work on. And that's where Gmail came from. That's where Meetup, that's where all their other stuff came from. So talk to us about the entrepreneurship versus entrepreneurship, but the importance of it in corporate America.
Yeah, and three Post-it notes came from entrepreneurship. We could go on and on and on. And
Right.
different came out of these type of incubators within bigger companies, and that's important. But what I like to talk about is the small business owner, that because it starts with them, of having a culture of entrepreneurship within their team, within their organization. Because the entrepreneur, the difference between an intra and an intra is that intra is going to work within the confines of that entrepreneur. The entrepreneur probably saw a problem, thought they could fix it, solve the problem, and so they went and did that. Now the entrepreneur, so I work for UniFi within the confines of Bank of Ann Arbor and UniFi Equipment Finance. My vision and culture and philosophy had aligned with Bank of Ann Arbor. Hence why I took this opportunity. When you started doing my due diligence and research on the CEO, on the company, the culture, it became very apparent to me that my beliefs were aligned with the bank's beliefs. So it was easy for me now to go within the confines of Bank of Ann Arbor to bring my entrepreneurship type mindset, which is very similar to entrepreneur, but I didn't have to take any risk. I didn't have to write the capital check to start the business up as an independent. And then when I came in, there's things that an entrepreneur has to do, and that's be extremely resourceful. That's one of the main tenets of being an entrepreneur, is being resourceful. Small bank. I didn't have Google. I didn't have a 3M or big companies. So I had to figure out ways how to make the organization better by leveraging the current resources, or thinking, I don't want to say thinking outside the box, but being more creative. And that's really what an entrepreneur does. And that's where they come up with those type of ideas, Gmail, post notes, and things of that nature. And it's so important now, the world that we live in, it gives everyone the opportunity to take a step back, look at their current business, take a step back, look at their personal career and what they want to do. And then when we go back into a real normal, if we ever do, it's that opportunity to have that different mindset. And I was doing a conference on Tuesday for lunch with people that were unemployed right now. And it was, I just was trying to give back and help people. It was 15 people or so. And I said, we were talking about this topic of entrepreneurship. And I said, if you truly want to learn about this topic and study it, I'll work with you one-on-one. And I firmly believe if you walk into an interview and bring this concept up and explain what it is and articulate what it is, your name and resume will go from the middle of the pack to the top.
Oh, definitely. And I talk to a lot of people like you're doing right now. It's almost, you got to look at yourself as your own company too, right? RJ Grimshaw Inc., Ken Lubin Inc. You got to create your own personal brand. And there's a quote from, Earl Nightingale that I have on my email that talks about, you don't own your job, but you own your career. And a lot of people forget that, right? And that was from the 40s and 50s. And that's not like came out last week with some newfangled thing. And it's a totally different mindset than just being an employee. And one of the things that I talk about a lot too is you either make a company money or you save a company money. Other than that, you're expendable because you're not producing numbers. So think about those ways too for job security too.
Well, same thing I say, you're a vital employee or a seat warmer. You're a vital employee. During a downsizing, we're going to figure out a way how to keep you within the company. If you're a seat warmer, you're first to go. And that's up to you. That's up to the person to make that determination. And now, granted, people go through cycles and chapters where you might be a seat warmer for a little bit. But at the end of the day, 90% of the time, you're that vital employee. And the same thing, Ken, talking about interviewing. I interview a lot of folks just like yourself. And I'm amazed at how many people, when you ask them why they're looking to make a move, what's driving you to make a move? Why? And when I hear the answer, why I don't see a career path at my current role, right there, to me, I'm pretty much done with that candidate, because it's not up to the company or to the organization to show you that career path. And another thing that I say when we're interviewing people, that we don't go by job descriptions. We have them. We have to have them. We have to have an idea. I'd rather have KPIs. This is what you're going to focus on, and these are the success versus job description. But I'll say to a potential candidate that this job description that you're interviewing for today, if it hasn't changed considerably in a year from now, we, as UniFi, haven't done our job, and you, as the person we've made an investment in, haven't done their job. Because we're a company, and we're not ruled by job grades or job descriptions. We have a can-do attitude, and there's always ways to look for improvement and take on more responsibilities. And those people that do that rise up through the organization, especially at a small organization. And they don't need a career path, or they don't need someone to help them that. They're doing that on their own.
Right. And they have the wherewithal to actually figure it out. Right. And sort of in their own head, they know their own career path versus someone to give a career path to them.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it going to go in a straight line? No. No. And that's the fun of it. It's the journey. It's not, if it's a straight line, it's like, okay, I'm here, now what? And also back to another point where I forget what you're saying, but the hard work was when I arrived here. That's when I always worked hard, but it was another level of hard work. Now it was another level of stress. And my son, who's played 3 years of junior hockey, is now hoping to get a D1 scholarship or a high D3 scholarship. And every time he made a step up, I always said, it's going to get harder now. It's going to get harder now. It's to celebrate, but it's going to get harder now, because every time you go up a level, there's more expectations. The standards are higher. The expectations are higher. That means you have to become that much more disciplined. And it's the same way that if you want to take on those challenges, it's as rewarding as all get out, but it's going to come with certain standards and expectations.
No, and I loved what you said about it's more about the journey than it is reaching the goal, because once you reach that goal that you have set in your head, there's a next goal waiting for you to go achieve, right? And like you said, you got to become better to achieve that next goal. And I think the biggest issue that people have is complacency, right? It's getting complacent, and then the second you're complacent, it's like game over. You got to always be growing. You can be complacent for a night, you can be complacent for a week, be proud of yourself and do your thing, but it's time to get back at it once you're sort of over that little celebration.
Call them chapters. It's chapters, especially in our industry, in the finance industry, and I've been industry 20 years, and it's the same cycle. Doesn't matter what role you're in. If you're in a carrying a bag sales role, if you're in a management role, if you're in a doc role, credit role, our industry is seasonal, right? So it's always funny. My break period, or I don't want to say break period, my period of the year that I take for RJ and family is summer months. So after actually the first week of July, because I love going through first half of the year's numbers and reviewing them and looking at the KPIs and year over year, 2 years over 2 years, quarter over quarter, going through all that data. And then about July 4th, it's okay, we're going to take some time off, still going to work. And that's kind of my mindset. I try and cut back on my travel. But Labor Day rolls around. After Labor Day, the golf clubs are put away, and it's back at it until usually Thanksgiving, because that time of year you have conventions, annual planning, annual policies being written, budgeting taking place. Then you get to the holidays, shut it down again for a little bit, and then from Christmas to the end of the year, it's all out again, wrapping up your year. So you can't. There's no way you can go that hard for 12 months in a row. You'll burn yourself out. Now, in July and August, do I completely shut down? No, but it's at a different pace. If my buddy wants to go golfing at 3:00, I'm probably going to go golfing. If we need to do something, I'm going to do that. But you need to develop that, and you'll develop your own patterns. And the same thing when you're building a business or in your new role. When we bring in new salespeople, we tell them, this is when you come to UniFi, and this was more when we were really starting growing the business. I would say, think of this: you just open up your own business within UniFi, and expectations are high, and you're going to have to work a lot of hours, and that scared away some candidates. But I was quite transparent with them, saying, this is my first CEO role, my first president role. We're a small company. There's nowhere to hide. We need, if you're in sales, to be generating oxygen, which is sales for this business.
100%. And let's shift gears a little bit now. We're in the middle of this pandemic that we're talking about, right? It's week or 45 days into it. What about, what are you seeing about leadership? What are you doing differently? Are you trying to keep stuff the same? What about leadership during this interesting time?
So it's gone through a cycle where early on at the end of February, so I tried to get way out in front of this and over communicate for a couple of reasons. One, personally for myself, I always, there's a difference between, I call them a wartime leader and a regular time leader. And I feel like I'm a wartime leader. There's adrenaline pumping. There's there's change going on. There's a lot of things that are happening that I need to be out in front of it, communicating, talking to my vendor partners, talking to my team members, talking to the parent bank, putting together a plan. So we did that, and we put the plan out. We were building our plan right away. I think I was sharing this with you on our relief, how we were going to handle. We knew we knew our business owners, our business owners were going to be affected by this. So I wanted to ensure that we had a structure in place, scripts in place. We were consistent in this incredible time to show empathy and sympathy to these business owners. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for this situation. It was to no fault of theirs that their business was shut down. And for a lot of those business owners, it is their baby. It is their family. It is their blood, sweat, tears. And I grew up in that type of family, so it really resonates with me. So that was in the first month I was doing that. As we've transitioned now to this remote, new world, I've laid back off of that because I don't have all the answers in terms of how we're going to come out of this. My number one job is to ensure that I'm managing the P&L. I'm ensuring that we stopped initiatives. We're taking costs out of it. We have not let one single person go. We've kept everyone. We haven't furloughed anyone. We haven't asked anyone to take a cut in pay. Everything's the same. Now, we're not sure. We know most likely there won't be profit plan or any type of profit sharing because there's going to be no profit.
Right.
What we did was I was also out in front of it, and I knew from an originations perspective, our originations would be off considerably, just like every other finance company across the country. Well, and I'm sure everyone's heard about the PPP program. Well, I caught wind of the PPP program early on, and I immediately went to the chief risk officer at the bank and the bank president, who I report to, and said, I have resources to support this program, and I want to be involved in this program. Because I looked at that as job security for our team members, especially on the front end of the business. Our portfolio services team, they're going to be busy, right? We knew that. But the credit analysts, my doc team, our doc team, our sales team. We had these resources. So we pivoted 50% of the business to support the bank in this PPP program, as well as UniFi customers. We ultimately processed, now after round 2, close to 1,300 loans for this PPP program for almost $400 million, which is typically our annual budget in loan production. And the nice thing about it is that our group has really shined to the bank due to the fact the PPP is really what we do on a daily basis. It's fast, it's quick, it's analyzing data, it's e-docs, docs back, it's funding. That's what we do. So it's natural to us. So we move at this pace, and the bank kept saying, the CRO of the bank and the CEO of the bank, man, your team's amazing. Of course, yeah, I know.
Right.
I know. Well, we're going to steal them. No, you're not going to steal them. That's the running joke now. I said, because, when people are in this environment or conditioned to work at that pace, the bank was out. They struggled with it. They weren't used to that pace. So to answer your question specifically, now it's more a wait. I'm not, I can't drive change. We're originating, but we're not out. We're fostering our relationships. We're trying to pick and choose other opportunities maybe that present themselves. And again, just trying to stay in touch with people and check in with people, make sure everyone's doing well. Our partners specifically, our customers specifically, and be patient with them. And we're all in it together at the end of the day.
Right.
So we just, we just keep moving forward, and who knows, as we were saying earlier, who knows how this is what the exit plan is, or what the next step is.
Right. And with talking to business owners and your customers, where do you see this going? Are you hearing anything? Is it just as uncertain as we were talking about, or just from different angles, right? Because you do business all over the country. So it'd be interesting to hear if it's any different in Boston as it is from Phoenix to Seattle to Ann Arbor.
Unfortunately,
the same.
It's all the same. It's a roller coaster of emotions that I'm sure you've gone through.
Oh yeah,
I go through them personally. It's one day's great, and then the next day I'm down in the dumps. And what I mean by that is you just start asking, and my number one goal is to have the days that are great days outnumber the days that maybe are okay days. And what a great day might be is, it can be a simple thing as a compliment from one of our customers in terms of helping them with relief, or, a team member, getting an email from a customer thanking them that they're the most professional person that they've handled. Or if a situation gets escalated where, people are under a lot of stress right now, especially these business owners. I've told our customer service team, I want those forwarded to me. I want to make those phone calls. I want to stay engaged with those folks, because they're not hearing from any other CEO from bigger companies, bigger banks. And the title, it doesn't mean anything to me, but it might mean something to them. And if I can just have that conversation with them to let them know, hey, we're here for you. We want to work with you. We want to make this, we know it's out of your control to a certain degree. So, but at the end of the day, Ken, it doesn't matter if you're in Texas, Boston, Ann Arbor, it's uncertain.
Right.
It's uncertain across the country.
And I love what you just said. It's, you have up days, down days. I have up days, down days. It's actually okay, right? I think a lot of people think that it's not okay, but that's the cycle we're in. And sometimes if you need to just go for a walk, right? You're not going to pull off extraordinary things in today's market, no matter how, you think you can, but you're sort of pushing water uphill with a rake, right? It's not working.
You said you're learning new hobbies. I'm learning new skills. I'm trying to learn several new skills. I am not being complacent, because we can't be complacent.
Right.
If we were just like 08, 09, the same thing. I don't sit idle. It doesn't work for me. It's not my style, and I'm not wired like that. So I'm learning 3 or 4 new hobbies that is going to make myself better as a person, as a leader, and a better version of RJ, hopefully in the future. So that's where I try and focus that energy on, where before maybe it was in leadership within the company in terms of the raw, and this is where we're going. And I can't do that there because it's uncertain, and people don't want that right now. I firmly believe my team doesn't want RJ standing in front of the group saying, charge ahead, here we go, because that's not what's going on right now in the world.
Right.
They want to hear, thank you for doing your job. We appreciate it. Thank you for how you're treating our customers. We appreciate it. Thank you for learning this new program for PPP. It's helping so many business. That's what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. So that's the way that we've and my management team has done an absolutely incredible job of supporting each other. I have it easy and compared to some of our team members. Our director of operations, she has 2 boys under the age of 5 that haven't been in school for 2 months, and she's working from home. You want to talk about stress?
Yep.
And her husband's her husband works for the post office, and he's delivering mail every day, and additional stress. I mean, so those are the things that you have to, your emotional, your EQ has to go up tremendously in times like this, and show that empathy for everyone, because there's no 2 situations that are alike. My wife has been making masks. Like, she just started making masks, and she's still making masks. You just rise up and do what's needed for that time.
No, and do what feels good for you, right? And giving back if that feels good, or if baking feels good, or whatever you need to do to sort of find your purpose through this as well, because everyone knows it sucks, right? And even the people on the front line who this isn't a reset and a slow time, it sucks for them because they're working 24/7, and God bless all of them for pulling that off. It's just absolutely amazing. Where I love to say, and probably I've said this on every podcast, but just how resilient humans are, right? If you said 2 months ago, 45 days ago, that 95% of the world's going to work from home and that every kid in America is going to be homeschooled, you'd be like, that's crazy. And it was amazing. The first couple of weeks, I think everyone thought, oh, we'll be back to normal in a couple of weeks. And then it didn't. And it was all of a sudden, boom, my 5th grader's upstairs doing Zoom calls. That's how they're staying connected. My 9th grader is doing high school remotely. It's going to change things, but I think it's going to be changed for the positive, number one. And number 2, it's going to teach people how to be more empathetic for each other as well. And I know, being in Boston, people don't have a lot of empathy for other people, right? It's a little bit different culture, and I think it's completely shifting from what it used to be.
I completely agree, and I also think I firmly believe that it's going to allow people that did not understand a remote workforce before and thought negatively against a remote workforce will change their concept and thinking. Because especially I was talking to another CEO, and he said that he's finding his team, as they work remote, more proficient, efficient, getting more done, himself included, because you take out the whole element. Now, we are human nature, want to interact with people, things of that nature. But in the same respect, people also want to get things done. So we were talking about Dave Rhodes earlier. Dave is his concept of the 5-hour workday. I'm not sure. I know that I could probably get, if I wanted to, everything that I needed to get done in a given day in 5 hours. My goals, right?
Yep.
So without a commute, without going into the office, getting sidetracked. So I just think, and now with technology, people are learning the technology, they're leveraging the technology, understanding the technology. It's becoming the new norm, which makes me excited and other people excited, because someday I'd love to live in some warm weather.
Right.
and be able to have my corporate headquarters in Michigan or Boston or New York or where have you, and not have the expense of travel for the company back and forth to headquarters, but do meetings like this, and then once a quarter or whatever the timeline is, and then allow me to spend time out in front of customers, which is more important than being in a home office. So I just think there's going to be a lot of change. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be positive. I really do. I think that it's going to make us stronger. We know that.
Definitely is. It definitely is. I think, and that's what's sort of exciting about it, right? I think it's going to be unique. It's going to create new opportunities we didn't even know existed. There's going to be old opportunities that are going to go by the wayside, but so, like the fax machine went by, or the dial-up phone went away, right? And it's amazing that you can run a business on a cell phone and do podcasts with your cell phone, and you can do everything with just this computer that's in your pocket. And I think leaders who are hesitant to let people do that are all of a sudden going to be seeing, wow, they can actually do it and get it done and save 3 hours a day. Everyone says, think about, even if you have a 20 or 30-minute commute, you still have an hour to get ready. You have to get in the car. You have to do all that stuff. It's 3 hours that all of a sudden can be turned into productivity, number one, but your employees can focus on their health. They can work out now. They can be more efficient. They can work the hours that actually work for them. There's people that love to work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then there's people who love to work from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's right. Whatever works, and you're getting it done. That's all that matters.
And think about the amount of time that I know for myself, and I'm sure for you, I've been blessed to spend 45 days with my boys that I would never, ever been able to spend this amount of time with them. I mean, we have family dinner every evening now. That would have never happened. And they enjoy it too. Again, my boys are older; they're young men, but I would have never ever had that opportunity to have that. So I'm looking at it as, it's been a blessing. And when we do go back to a new norm, and they head out to college, and it's actually probably gonna be more. I'm probably gonna be more depressed then, not missing them, right? Because you have that so much interaction with them on a daily basis, and now it's because when it goes back to normal, it's going to be turned off. Kids, they're going to be hey, I've spent enough time with mom and dad. I want to go with my buddies and my girlfriend and stuff like that. So
then we'll never see him again, right? Never. It would just be the opposite. I've spent enough time with you. We've reached the quota. Now it's time to move on.
Yeah. What are you hearing in terms of across the country in terms of filling positions, hiring, and what's that timeline look like?
It's sort of the same thing, right? Everyone is, I think, starting to shift to cautiously optimistic, but people really aren't making moves. Companies aren't really hiring, but more importantly is candidates aren't really making moves if they have something stable, because sort of that the devil right now, sort of the devil is better than the devil you don't. And to make moves with everything that's going on is tough. People are open to talking. People are open to that more, from the hiring perspective, but talking to business leaders and everything else, they are a bit cautiously optimistic. I think the industry that we focus in, right, the specialty lending and finance world, there's going to be a pent up demand. I think that's going to come out of the other side for this. I think consumer demand, I think the restaurant business, the bar business, that if they can make it through this, they're going to be coming out on fire. I think it's going to be an opportunity for them to really grow and see what's happening. But again, and I think it might be different from different segments of the country, but the feeling is the same. It's the feeling that, same feeling that you're hearing that's out there. I've talked to a lot of search guys here just internally, and they're saying the same thing. I think life science is going a little bit harder. Life science, pharma, bio, that type of stuff. But retail is dead, right, for the time being, and consumers dead for the time being. And technology is sort of is shifting a little bit, but I think even tech is sort of in between, right? What do we do? What do we don't do? How do we handle that? So it's pretty consistent. There's nothing crazy one way or the other in the marketplace. But in talking about leaders, it's sort of the same thing that you're talking about here. Let's let's sort of treat our employees the right way, know that we're going to get through this, let's help each other out. Even organizations that had to furlough employees, they're still staying in touch. The leaders are staying in touch. They're doing weekly town meetings to just make sure that everyone's in front of each other and that everyone's still staying connected, because that's an important piece of it as well. So that's what we're seeing. But RJ, we're coming up here on 45 minutes. This has been awesome. And I want to thank you for this, but where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you? You're pretty active on social media as well. So give us some touch points.
Sure. For UniFi Equipment Finance, our website is teamunifi.com. Myself, my personal website is rjgrimshaw.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So you just Google me and find me. But my email, I'll give you my personal email because it's easier, is rj@rjgrimshaw.com. Once again, rj@rjgrimshaw.com. But I really do appreciate the time, and I always love chatting with you and catching up with you. And I hope people find this valuable.
Definitely. No. And if anyone's listening or has questions, comments, feedback, you can email me at klubin@ZRG Partners, but I'll be posting all of RJ's contact points as well. So thanks again, RJ. I really appreciate it. And thanks all the listeners.